to talk to you today about showing and selling condos here in Florida. An agent asked me this week, what do I need to do to show condos? I'm just so in over my head. I really don't know what to do. And so what I did is I sat down and I started jotting out the things that somebody who needs to show condos for the first time really should know about the process. So what I want you to do is grab your notebook and take some really good notes. And at the end of this video, you're going to know so much more about selling condos than you did before you started watching this. Okay, first and foremost, the thing I want to start with is don't be afraid of it. Okay? Agents are oftentimes so intimidated, newer agents, they're so intimidated by showing condos or showing a high end property. You don't need to be. It's the same thing as showing a $100,000 house, right? Um, it's an exciting process. I mean, you're also working with people that are very excited to be there and to be looking to purchase a second home or vacation home or an investment property, right? They're happy to be here. They're out of their element from wherever they came from, and this is a dream that they've been working for a long time. So revel in it. Take advantage of it. There are great money making opportunities for you in selling condos here along the Emerald Coast or anywhere in Florida or anywhere in the country for that matter. Most of the stuff will apply to anywhere in the country that you happen to be watching. So don't be afraid of it. Just look again. It's like anything in real estate. You're just going to want to learn your trade. You know, study the tips like watching this video, and then go out and do it. And you'll learn as you go too. If you don't know something, you know, always remember the magic words. You don't want to fake your way through it. Remember, I don't know, I'll find out for you. And anyone will respect that. Because, you know, we don't know everything. We just don't. I've been doing this a long time, and there's things that come up each and every day and week that I go, wow, I didn't know that. So it's perfectly fine. I'll find out for you and get back to you. And people respect that. Okay. Next, what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to go to the condo first, okay, before your buyer gets there and learn the lay of the land. The thing you don't want to do is show up and the buyer's already sitting in the parking lot and you've never been to the building before. This is a rookie mistake. Do not do this, okay? You're going to look like a fool, okay? Go to the building. Okay, is there a gate code to get in? Is there an elevator code to get up in the elevator? Where are the elevators? Okay, where's the pool? Where's the walk over to the beach? Where's the gym? Okay, ride the elevators up to the floors. When you get off the elevator, is 1104 to your left or is 1104 to your right? Right? It's all these things. I'm getting comfortable with the building that you're showing. If you hesitate, your buyers are going to pick up on that you don't know what you're doing, right? So again, invest like we talked about, invest the time, go out there before you're showing the property and just get yourself a little bit familiar with the property and where everything is. So when they want to walk over the beach, you know how you do that? If they want to go up in the elevators and look at a property, you get off and you go in the right direction, right? So invest that time. All right. The next thing is realize that they're difficult to show, so schedule accordingly. Okay? Condos during the summer, if they're on the vacation rental program, and a lot of them are really difficult to show. Really difficult, right? The best time that you're going to get somebody in there during the busy months and the holidays is going to be during the turnover time. And most of the time, that's Saturdays from late morning to early afternoon. Sometimes it's Fridays, you know, with some buildings. But generally speaking, that's going to be your window of opportunity to show those condos. So if you have somebody who's interested in those and they're only going to come in on a Wednesday, that's probably not going to work, right? They're probably not going to be able to see it. They're probably going to come all the way here and get frustrated, right? So you're going to find out your best shot at showing the vacation rental condos is during the turnover time, and that's usually going to be on a Saturday, late morning to early afternoon. And yes, you're going to have to oftentimes show them when they're dirty, unfortunately. It's just the way that it is. So you have to prepare your buyers for this. Okay. If they're prepared for it, they won't be surprised by it when they come in, and they'll understand. They're going to understand that these are popular, and it's a good thing that they're popular if they're thinking of renting them out. That'll be something positive on their behalf. So just realize that they're hard to show during the busy times, and all the time is seeming like the busy times here along the Emerald Coast lately. So plan accordingly and make sure you've got your plan set with your buyers. Next, you're going to want to make sure that your buyers use a local lender or mortgage broker in order to purchase their condo if they're not paying cash. Um, they're going to go, oh, I've got a guy back in Kentucky. We've been doing business with them for 20 years. He'll take care of this. Uh-uh. Right? It's not going to work. Even the salesperson at the bank's going to be well-meaning and think, yeah, we can do this, and I'll talk to the underwriter, and it'll all be fine, and it's just going to end up a big mess. So unless they're in a situation where they could just get a home equity loan or a line of credit and pay cash on this end, that's a completely different story, and that's fine. Okay, but if they need to finance a condo, financing it with an out-of-state lender is just going to be bad for them and bad for you and bad for everybody. Okay, so you're going to want to know, you're going to want them to use someone local. Okay. Another thing that you need to know when showing and selling condos is you need to know the financial programs that are available. Um, you don't necessarily, some lenders will require 25% down on their properties and so on and so forth. Sometimes it's more than that. And it doesn't necessarily always need to be that way. If they qualify as a second home, for example, there are lenders locally that could do it with as little as 10% down if the building qualifies as a second home. If the buyer happens to have substantial assets, there's even commercial programs that they could put their assets against for 30% down at a slightly higher rate that they don't need to actually come out of pocket with anything. So talk to your lender partners that you have a relationship with, and if your lender partners can't do these types of loans, get out there and talk to other lenders that can, just to have those as backups, so you have some options. People are oftentimes shocked. They think I need to put 30% down, and they don't realize, hey, I can, if it qualifies, this building qualifies as a second home, and I could, and they can get qualified that way, we can do this with 10% down. So, again, knowing that can make the difference between somebody, writing off the idea altogether and going, yeah, let's go look at property. Okay. What you're going to need to do also when you're setting up showings is plan for the keys. Okay. You're going to need to make sure that you leave time to go pick up the keys. And oftentimes there are rental companies that are off-site. So bring plenty of business cards, leave yourself plenty of time ahead of time to go and gather the keys, and make sure you've got everything that you need in time for when you're going to meet your customers. Big, big, big thing, plan for traffic, okay? Everybody who's shown condos has gotten trapped into this one, right? Remember that the buyer may be in the condo that they want to go take a look at, or in the condo complex anyway. Or they might be across the street or right down the street. You, on the other hand, could be a town or two towns or three towns over. And as you're going toward the beach areas during popular times, they're going to get backed up, and it's going to take a while to get there. And the last thing you want is to have your customer sitting in the parking lot while you're stuck on the Brooks Bridge, right? Make sure that you're going to leave plenty of time during those times. If you get there early, go find somewhere and do some extra work, walk the condo. If as we said, if you haven't walked the condo, whatever you need to do in order to compensate for that, but do not cut it close. During the summer months when there's lots of traffic and you got to go pick up keys and all of this, make sure you leave plenty of time for what you need to do. You're also going to want to gather rental information for the condo that somebody is interested in. The listing agent should have those available, and if not, you can talk to the companies that rent in those buildings. You're going to want to make sure, though, that you're comparing apples to apples when you're talking about renting out properties. Okay, and let me explain to you what I mean by that. A will typically ask, what did this unit do as a rental? Okay, and you have to realize that some sellers who rent their properties, some of them use it a lot for themselves and their family, and some of it use it barely at all. So, yeah, that is a pertinent question, and you should provide your buyer with that info. But you're also going to need to present your buyer with, if they were to rent it, the amount of time they were planning on renting it, what would it have rented for in the past? So, what you're going to want to do is get them with some other get them with the companies that rent units in those buildings, just so they can give them an idea of what these properties have rented for in the past when they're renting the amount of time that the buyer is planning on putting it on the rental market. Another thing that's important to point out, and point out early in the process, is make sure that your buyer fully understands that the major insurance costs are included in the condo fees. I've had people resist coming to town after falling in love with a condo that they've stayed at because they found out the condo fees were X amount. What they didn't realize was that that included the major insurance on the building and the flood insurance. Okay, they thought that they would have to pay those condo fees and pay those insurance costs separately. So oftentimes when I tell that to a potential buyer, they go, "Oh, okay. Well, in that case, it's fine. I mean, it's not so bad. I thought I was going to have to pay insurance too." What your potential buyer will need to do is they'll need to pay have a contents policy to cover the interior of the condo and the contents of the condo. Okay, but the major costs on the insurance are covered in the condo fees. So make sure that your potential buyer understands that. Otherwise, they may go, "I can't do this," thinking that they had to go out and get insurance on top of all of that. Here's a sales tip for selling condos for many, many years too. Keep the dream alive. You know what happens? Okay, they're excited to be there. They're finally going to do this, and they're committed to doing this. And something gets in the way, and they end up going home. Okay, find out how long your buyer is going to be in town. That's a very important thing. First of all, find out how long they're going to be in town. And then when they find the condo that they've fallen in love with, encourage them to go to dinner, talk about it, and let them know when you decide what you like to offer. I'll get it written up. We'll get it over to you on your phones, and you can go ahead and make the offer, and I'll make it as easy as possible for you. Okay? Try to get them, do everything that you can to get them to take action on that condo while they're still in town and still in the dream. Because what happens when they leave the area is that they go back home and then life gets in the way. Have there been a few things in 2020 for everyone that life has gotten in the way? Yeah, absolutely. Life gets in the way, and then they start getting focused on whatever's happening in their lives. And then one of them says to the other, you're going to check in and say, "Hey, the condo's still available. Do you want to make an offer?" And they're going to look at each other and go, "We'll just wait till next year." They lose and you lose that way, right? So do all you can when they finally found something that's perfect for them. Do all you can to get them to take that step forward while they're still here and while they're still in the dream. If you let them go home, the chances that you're going to lose them and they're not going to get what they want is going to go up dramatically. So do all you can on that front. That takes a little bit more sales skills in moving someone along in the process. Another thing that's important to understand with condos is that views matter when it comes to pricing. Okay? I've had a lot of buyer's agents argue with me about comps when they didn't understand them. Okay? You have to compare apples to apples on views when it comes to condos. I mean, common sense will tell you the penthouse is probably going to be worth more than the lower floors, right? Even if they have the same views. Yeah. And to put it on top of that, okay, some properties have direct Gulf views and some of them have sound views, right? So you want to make sure when you're pricing comparable sales you have to make sure your buyer is probably not going to be able to sort that out. You're going to have to help them sort that out. So make sure when you're doing that, that they're comparing sound view condos to sound view condos in the same building and Gulf view condos to Gulf view condos in the same building. Okay? It's got to be apples to apples when it comes to that. You know, most people generally want the Gulf view. Most people generally want to be up higher. Now, that's not always the case. Some people have issues with heights, and I've had buyers that absolutely wanted to be on the first or second floor. But generally speaking, as you go up in a building, they're going to catch higher rates because the views are greater than the lower floors, right? So make sure you're comparing apples to apples. Units on a lower floor above the pool, units on a higher floor looking out over the Gulf. Big difference. Big difference there. So when you're pricing it, you know, make sure your buyer doesn't fall into that trap. You need to make sure that you're comparing apples to apples when it comes to the comparisons. Okay. When you're getting ready to write an offer, make sure that you're asking about assessments and make sure that you and your buyer understand everything that's there. This is a big deal, right? As I said to my team the other day, missing one checkbox in the wrong spot there ultimately could land you in court, okay? If there's an assessment due, you know, you've got a choice. Either the seller pays the whole assessment that's been due at closing, or the seller pays up to closing and then the buyer pays anything that's due after closing, right? So you want to make sure if there is something that's hanging out there that everybody's on the same page as to what's going to happen with it, okay? Is the seller going to clear it all prior to this transaction closing, or is the seller just going to pay up until closing and the buyer going to be responsible for what's coming down the road, okay? Condo assessments can be quite substantial sometimes. I mean, especially on things after hurricanes or if they need to do a big project like replace the windows in the condos, in the entire building. You know, there's just things that come up that could be a substantial amount of money. You know, we had, there was one condo where the garage was found to be structurally unsound and they had to replace the whole blasted thing, you know. So obviously these things can run into the tens of thousands of dollars. Your buyer doesn't want to be surprised by that, right? So make sure you understand what's going on with any pending assessments before writing the offer. And is there anything coming that we need to know about too? Make sure we're going to find that out. I wanted to talk to you a moment about the right of rescission when it comes to condos. On resale condos in the state of Florida, the buyer has 3 days from the time that they receive the condo docs and financials to review them, and then if there's and ask any questions that they need to, and if there's anything in there that they're concerned about, they have a right to cancel the contract and have their earnest money returned to them. Okay, this is a Florida law. This isn't negotiable. This is what the buyer has a right to do, right? So you do want to make sure that they get everything and that they sign that they've gotten everything and that they have that time to review those, just to make sure there aren't any surprises in there, okay? This is a big deal. You know, they need to be able to have that right. Otherwise, if they didn't get it and there's a surprise later that would cause them, somebody tells them that they can't do something with the condo, that's going to be a huge problem, and that could be a court problem. So you want to make sure that you follow that to the letter and they've gotten all their questions answered. A lot of times, buyers will be thinking that, I'm coming down and I'm bringing the family and what have you, and I absolutely positively need 3 bedrooms, okay? And what I'm going to encourage you to do on that is to dig a little bit deeper, with your buyer. Does your buyer really need 3 bedrooms, or would 2 bedrooms with a bunk room or a bunk be sufficient? Because there are buildings that have 2 with a bunk, okay? And oftentimes that's going to be a lot cheaper for your buyer than going the full 3-bedroom route. Okay, that can be substantial. Remember that you've got the option with bunks. Remember you have pullouts in the living area. Oftentimes, when people go, if they're going to put it on the vacation rental, 2 bedrooms with a bunk and a pullout, that's that can hold a lot of people, right? So dig deeper a little bit and ask your buyer if 2 in a bunk would be sufficient, or 2 in a pull-out couch would be sufficient, as opposed to just going the 3-bedroom route. That would expand their horizons when it comes to options, and may save them a good deal of money if they really don't need the 3 bedroom units at the end of the day. Another thing I wanted to talk to you about is don't get hung up on days on market when it comes to condos, okay? When you're talking about traditional residential sales, days on market have a big, big, big impact, right? You're dealing with people that mostly have to sell a home, and they're selling it for a reason, and they need to go somewhere else, and most of the time they need that money out to go do something else. So when you're looking at residential sales, oftentimes those days on the market can be a big deal and can really blow up in the face of a seller if a property sits there on the market for too long. But when it comes to condos, remember, all the sellers aren't motivated. You know, these sellers are mostly second homeowners and investment property owners, right? And you've got a lot of people that are in the boat of, hey, if it sells, it sells, and if it doesn't, it doesn't, you know? And either one is just fine with them. So don't get trapped into that. Sometimes, we'll have a buyer look at a piece of property and go, it's been on the market 800 days. This seller must be desperate. I'm going to lowball him and offer him 50 cents on the dollar. No, that's not how this is going to go. It's not the same animal when it comes to days on market. And additionally, because the units are very hard to sell, are very hard to show during the busy seasons, that also tends to lend to the longer market times on top of it. So just explain to your buyer that this isn't it's not days on market like you're looking at housing in your normal subdivision. It's a completely different animal, and that's not something that you need to get hung up on, when it comes to making an offer. Another thing I wanted to point out was people will buy properties sight unseen. The National Association of Realtors came out this month and said in recent months, 1 out of 4 properties are being bought. This is just condos. This is just nationwide. 1 out of 4 condos are being bought sight unseen. And oftentimes what agents tend to think is they fall into the mindset of, well, I would never buy a property without setting foot in it, so I'm sure my buyers wouldn't. A lot of them will, right? There's a lot of, we've got great photos online. We've got, there's just so much that they can look at. If somebody falls in love with something and the inventory is so low, oftentimes they just want to go ahead and get it secured and get it written up. And you, as the professional real estate agent, can always figure out a way to get somebody out of a contract if they tie it up and they get here and there's something that just doesn't work for them, right? You can do that. You could figure that one out. But what you can't do is you can't get them into a property that they've missed out on because they sat around and somebody else did what we just talked about, right? So remember that oftentimes, you may be able to go preview a condo and do a FaceTime with them and walk through the condo, and they can look at everything online, and certain people may be willing to make an offer based upon that. And like I said, you can always write it up in a way that if they're feeling a little bit uneasy, but some people are like, hey, as long as I can get an inspection and it's fine, I'm good to go. So don't feel that if it's not something you personally would do, that it's not something anyone would do. People are buying property sight unseen these days with everything that's going on. Remember, if it's a furnished condo, that you have to include the furnishings in the offer that you're writing up, okay? What you're going to want to do is you're going to write on there, as furnished upon buyer viewing on whatever date it happens to be. You might want to check with the listing agent and with the documents to see if there's any exclusions. Sometimes sellers will exclude personal items or things they're attached to, like maybe a nice painting or something that just has sentimental value to it. Anything in the owner's closets and so on and so forth for the property of the owners. But you want to make sure that you include the furnishings upon the buyer's visit to the condo on the date that they look at it. This is a big point when it comes to buying condos. Don't make assumptions when it comes to parking spaces and it comes to boat slips. That's not something you're going to want to do. That could be a big problem, okay? Don't assume because there's a garage that an owner can park there, or an owner could park multiple vehicles there, or because there's a boat slip, they could use the dock and the boat slips, okay? As oftentimes those things are sold separately, and if they're sold separately and somebody thinks they're getting that with it, that'll be a big problem for you. So just make sure you know what really, find out what they're getting as far as their parking spaces, boat slips, and things of that nature. Another thing you're going to want to do is every condo usually has an owner's storage, but what you're going to want to do on top of that is see if there's other storage on site. Oftentimes there's another area downstairs where the owner can put things, their own things to lock them up, and additionally can lock up rafts and things like that, for going to the beach. So check to see if there's any extra storage anywhere. Pets are a big thing when it comes to condos. And remember, each condo is different when it comes to what's allowable with pets. Okay? For some condos, it's only owners can have pets. For some condos, only owners can have pets under a certain weight. For some condos, anybody can have pets. And, there's condos with breeds and this and that and the other, okay? The number of pets, the type of pets, there's all sorts of things on those lines. Pets are a big deal to people. And pets, people do make buying decisions based upon their pets. They do it all the time, right? So make sure your buyer understands what they can and can't do when it comes to the condo in regard to their pets, okay? That's a real big deal. If they want to bring their dog and they can't bring their dog, they really needed to know that. And yeah, they could have looked it up in the condo docs, but they should have known that if they pointed it out and it was important to you, right? So make sure you've checked on that. All the pet rules are different. And now here's one last big thing you're going to want to do. After your showings, jump on Facebook Live out on the balcony and tell everybody about this great condo and this great view, and show them the view and put it on social media and get people excited so you'll have more people that want to buy condos from you, okay? Take advantage of that. If you're not comfortable about being on video, let the golf be on video, let the condo be on video, and let you be the voiceover on the video, okay? You've got to get comfortable doing that. You've got to be visible. You've got to be out there. And by all means, return the keys. You don't want to turn around and go home and figure out that you did not return the keys to the condo to the rental agency. Believe me, you're going to be turning around and going back, and that's going to be frustrating for you. So I hope this is helpful to you. I hope you learned a little bit more about showing and selling condos. We do these videos. These are always free at grittyagents.com. Go to the website, like our Facebook group. If you like it, again, if you like this video and share it, and also like our Facebook page as well. We've got all the videos on our website at grittyagents.com. And, it's always free and we're not selling you anything. If you do like what we're doing, you like our concept, and you want to mastermind with us on a regular basis without sharing any of your commission with us, we can talk to you about doing that. Just shoot me a message and ask how I do that. I also have details on that if you go to grittyagents.com about how that works. But you can mastermind with us for free forever, as long as you're with our group. And the collaboration that we have is like no other in this industry. So I hope this was helpful. Comment if you liked it. Like and share it if you liked it. And I wish you all the best with your real estate.